Hey everybody, welcome to Bold TV. I'm Carrie Sheffield, the founder of Bold TV, and we are excited to have a special guest today, Lara Trump, here at Bold for the first time. Welcome to Bold TV, Lara.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here with you. You've come on my show a couple times, so here I am, as promised.
Only fair.
Yeah.
So Lara, I want to talk, obviously it's trending right now, the shutdown.
Yeah.
So what's your take on how long is the shutdown going to last? What is driving the gridlock right now?
It's going to last as long as these Democrats keep playing politics. The reality is the president is out there fighting every single day for what he knows is the right thing to do. He knows that we need to reform our broken immigration system. He knows that we need a wall or a structure of some sort, however you want to talk about it, on our southern border. The reality is the Democrats who oppose this so strongly right now, not too many years ago, were all on board with this because it was under a different president. So he knows that he is going to win this. The reality is he's got the people of the country behind him. They voted him in office. This was one of his campaign promises. So I think it's going to last as long as it takes these Democrats to come to the table. The sad thing, Carrie, is that he's given them multiple opportunities to come to the White House. He's invited them to the White House several times. He sat down with them to negotiate in good faith, and they have shown that they are not budging at all. So it's going to last as long as it takes for him to get his wall.
So, Lara, I'm not going to defend Democrats going down and partying in Puerto Rico, but I've heard some criticism to say, hey, you know, this should be a separate conversation. A shutdown of the government, paying employees should be separate from an immigration debate about a wall. What's your response to that?
I think that's ridiculous. I think it's such a bad look for some of these people who were just elected, who just started like 2 weeks ago in their seats to be down in Puerto Rico with lobbyists who are paying them to be there, who are going to give them political favors. They're not representing their constituents. They're not representing the hundreds of thousands of government workers who still don't have a paycheck. And instead of being in Washington, D.C., like the president, willing to talk about a solution here so that we can move forward as a country, they're down there partying and having a good time working on their tans. Obviously, we wish that we were working on our tans as well.
I need it.
The president would have liked to have been at Mar-a-Lago for Christmas and New Year's with all of us. Instead, he was at the White House in Washington working again on behalf of the American people. I think it's a horrible look. What a dumb decision on their part to go do that. But it kind of tells you all you need to know there. They are looking out for themselves. They are in Washington, D.C. for themselves and not representing their constituents and the people that elected them.
And what about the idea, Lindsey Graham, Republican supporter of the president, has floated the idea of separating the conversation around the border and the immigration of the wall from shutting down the government. What's your take on that?
The problem is that the president then has no card. He's got no hand to play. And he even asked Nancy Pelosi, he said, if we reopen the government, would you in 30 days sit down and talk to me about the immigration problem? And she said no. So, I mean, the reality is he's got to use everything he has to his advantage, and this is what he has right now. And it's really sad that the Democrats care so little about the people that work in the government that they're not willing to negotiate at all. But it's funny because they think they're going to win a game of chicken with Donald Trump, and I think they've got another thing coming. This man has been negotiating his entire life. I call him the negotiator in chief, so we will obviously see what happens, but it could be a long road ahead. I hope something happens very soon, though.
Do you think he'll end up declaring a national emergency if the Democrats aren't coming to the table?
I know he doesn't want to do that. It's such a big thing to do something like that. But I think he's going to do what he has to do. And if we get to a point where he really feels like it's totally unfair to these workers and it's really time to move on with things, I guess he could possibly do that. Well, I'm waiting to see, just like you are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so in terms of the workers who are coming to work and not getting paid, what would you say to them?
Listen, it's not fair to you, and we all get that, but this is so much bigger than any one person. It is a little bit of pain, but it's going to be for the future of our country, and their children and their grandchildren and generations after them will thank them for their sacrifice right now. I know it's hard. I know people have families, they have bills to pay, they have mortgages, they have rents that are due. But the president is trying every single day to come up with a good solution here. And the reality is it's been something that's gone on for too long and been unaddressed, our immigration problem. If we do nothing right now, it's never going to get fixed. This is our one opportunity. So I would just tell them, please stay strong. We appreciate everything that you're sacrificing. We are behind you, and we're going to do everything we can. I know the president is doing everything he can to resolve this quickly.
And in terms of the Democratic strategy, I'm trying to understand it because Nancy Pelosi, and many Democrats, as you mentioned, had previously voted for a lot of these policies. They'd voted for a barrier, including Hillary Clinton. Barack Obama said there was a humanitarian crisis, yet somehow that crisis is now magically evaporated. But in terms of the politics of engaging people's paychecks, do you think that Democrats are trying to use that to flip the script? Because this is how I would argue President Trump won the White House in part, a large part, is because of immigration. But are Democrats trying to take that victory from President Trump and flip it on its head because you see in the media over and over people exploiting what's happening with these workers?
Yeah, well, there's no question that's what they're doing, and that's the only leg they have to stand on. And it's a little bit sad because you saw them the other day to the steps of Capitol Hill bring, the folks that have not gotten any paychecks. And if you contrast that with the Angel families, who I actually was with 2 days ago, they, in the same way, could bring photos of their loved ones who have been murdered, who are never coming back, by illegal aliens, by people in this country that did not belong here, that had no business being here, that would not have been here if we would have had a better immigration system, if we would have had a structure on our southern border to prevent them from coming in. I think it's so dumb, by the way, that they do that. But again, I think that's the only leg they know they have to stand on. And you know what? It's a very low place for them to stoop, but it's not that surprising to me anymore to see what they'll do. And we'll see what their next trick is that they'll pull out of their bag. It can't get much lower, but maybe it will. Isn't it funny actually looking back on that? Because we see who are the people that are up in everyone's faces in restaurants screaming at, when they go low, we go high. I don't think so. The only people who have acted crazy since the day this president was elected are Democrats. Republicans have been, I think, as a whole, very respectful, very tolerant. All the things that the Democrats try to claim that they are, inclusive, tolerant, respectful, that has all been on the Republican end. So thank God I can call myself a Republican.
And also, in terms of the immigration, you mentioned the angel moms and the crime. One common response I hear to that is, well, immigrants commit lower levels of crime than American citizens. They never point out the difference between crimes committed by illegal immigrants versus legal immigrants. Overall, it is lower, though, than U.S. citizens. I would argue because a lot of them don't want to get caught because they're here illegally. But what's your response to that?
You look at the fact that we have sanctuary cities and now sanctuary states, California, where you have people who have committed crime after crime after crime. They are not even punished in the way that a citizen of this country would be punished. They get a slap on the wrist, they send them back out there, and they let them repeat crime after crime. That is the problem here. No one is paying attention to these people. There's no process in place to get them out of our country, because now you have sanctuary cities, sanctuary states that are saying everyone's welcome in. And not only that, they're going to give them free health care now. They're going to take care of them forever. It's such a drain on our entire system, and it's hurting American families, and it has to stop. And, so my response to that is that's crazy. It doesn't make any sense.
Well, I think that any crime, zero crime, should be the number for any illegal immigrant who shouldn't be here at all. But I want to turn here, Laura, to talking about Republican women. So there have been different studies and things trending in the news about Democratic women and how successful they've been at fundraising. This has been going on for years. Emily's List, for example, has raised many more millions of dollars than Republican female groups, the equivalent. Why do you think there is this big discrepancy in terms of the money and how Democratic women are much more successful at fundraising?
Well, I think that listen, the Democrats have a lot of backers that are in the dark that we all know exist out there who are backing them for the wrong reasons. And, I don't really have the answer to it, and that's a little bit sad for me to hear. But I think what I've seen at the campaign is one of the things I'm most proud of is that we get the most amount of money from low dollar donors, meaning people that donate $20, people that donate $15. And that tells me that the people of this country are backing the president based on the amount of money that we've raised. So I think the reality is there's money out there and there are people willing to donate if they believe in a cause and if they believe in what you're doing. So maybe as Republican women, we need to do a better job of touting ourselves and being our own best cheerleaders like the president does sometimes.
He's very good at that.
He's very good at that. But it's one of the reasons he's so successful. And I think sometimes it's hard as women. You know, we want to be a little more reserved, and that's sort of how I guess we're brought up in a way. But maybe we need to do a better job of getting ourselves out there and talking about our achievements and what we hope to see happen in our communities and in our country.
Well, certainly studies have shown that female candidates or women are less likely to become candidates without someone asking them to versus men.
Right.
They just step up and do it without being asked. So that's certainly related to what you were saying about kind of tooting your own horn or just taking the risk and doing it without being asked. In terms of another common argument I've seen when I've brought this issue up about Republican women and lack of support is that, well, that's exploiting the gender, and that's dividing men and women, and that's giving special treatment to women. And my response to that is, this isn't about identity politics in terms of gender. To me, it's the identity of winner. Like, if you want to win the House, right now, Republicans, their identity is lost the House. That's the identity. So however you want to slice and dice it, there were 23 House Republican women before, and now there are only 13. Yeah. That's a big drop. And that's substantially, on a percentage basis, way more percentage-wise than the male drop of House Republicans. So what's your take on that? And in terms of, you know, we don't want to exploit gender. We don't believe in dividing people by identity. But how would you respond to that criticism by some conservatives?
You know, I hate so much when we have to get so nitpicky on things. First of all, I'm a woman. I'm very proud to be a woman. I'm great to be labeled as a woman. I think it's a wonderful thing. Embrace who you are. Embrace what you are. I don't know. It's just such nonsense. And I feel like we get in the weeds with stuff like that. And it shouldn't be about gender. It should be about the best person for the job. And if you're a woman and you're going to be the best person for the job, you better tell me about it. And you better tell me why you're going to be that person. I hate whenever people get all crazy with that stuff. I think it's one of the reasons that we need safe spaces in our country now, and everyone is a winner, and it just goes along those lines. Let's just say what it is. I'm a woman, you're a woman. There's nothing wrong with that. I hate when people get all crazy with stuff like that. Yeah, it's a little much.
Yeah, well, and there is, if just polling and all the evidence shows, there is a gender gap for Republicans versus Democrats. So what messaging, or how do you think Republicans can be more effective in reaching women?
I think a lot of times with women, the proof is in the pudding. So women, listen, as a mom, if you're going to show me that you are a better candidate because you're going to keep my son safer, you're going to keep our country safer, you're going to do things that are going to be beneficial to me in many different ways, I think women like to have like facts and statistics to back things up, which is why I always say when it comes to this president, women don't talk about it a lot because it's such a cliche, Carrie, as you know, to be a woman and be a Trump supporter. I'm one of them. I'll be happy to stand up and say that. But that's why I always say that I think going into 2020, Donald Trump is going to get so much support from women because he has delivered on all the things that he promised to the country. And that means something to people. You know, people that didn't vote for him in 2016 now either have more money in their pockets, have a better job, have a better outlook on life for themselves, for their families, for future generations. So I always say with women, I think they're out there. I think they're going to vote for this president because listen, we like results too, right? So that's sort of my take on it.
All right. Thank you, Lara Trump. One last question. Yeah. What is bold to you?
Bold TV or just bold?
Just being bold. The word bold.
Oh.
Yes.
Bold is doing things that maybe make you uncomfortable and a little nervous, but you know it's going to be worth it to do them. I think that's bold to me. Like just getting out of your comfort zone a little bit and maybe doing something that shakes you up and makes you slightly nervous and slightly uncomfortable, but you know in the end, like you're going to look really cool afterwards. That's bold.
Great. Thank you, Lara. Thanks, Lara Trump here on Bold TV. Thanks for tuning in.